friends, this is Rajgopal speaking to you regarding the interview of the UPSC for the Civil Services Examination. First of all, let me congratulate all of you for having been selected to appear for the interview before the Union Public Service Commission. It's a recognition of your merit, your abilities, and it almost shows that you are there. You are going to be selected if you perform very well in the interview. I have been an IAS officer for almost 38 years and have worked at the local body level, the district level, the state level, and the national level. And I've also represented India at international forums. And based on that experience and my own experience in the UPSC interview, I wish to give you a few tips which can be of use to you when you face your interview at the UPSC. So let's begin from the beginning. You have been asked to come for the interview before the UPSC. As you enter the building, which is called as the Dholpur House on Shah Jahan Road, I am sure that all of you will have a sense of nervousness, which I also encountered when I appeared for the interview, and most people encounter that. You have to overcome that feeling of nervousness in you as you go into the building, because calm nerves are probably the most important requirement for you to perform well at the interview. If you are able to maintain your balance during the interview session, you won the battle more or less. What the board is trying to test is not just your ability to express yourself or your knowledge of a subject, but it's more the equanimity and the stability of mind that you're able to display and demonstrate when you face the tough questions of the UPSC board in Delhi. The most important thing, therefore, is to maintain that stability of mind and overcome that sense of nervousness. Then let's come to the next important item, your attire, your dress, or your sense of how you would like to project yourself before the board. You are appearing for a formal interview before a set of distinguished individuals who are all experts in their subjects, some of them probably drawn from the civil services, and mostly past the age of 55 or 60. Therefore, the expectation would be that you dress yourself in a formal way when you go before the board. It's not so much how you feel about your attire that is important. What is more important is the way the board looks at you when you go in that particular dress. I would therefore advise that it's important that you dress yourself formally. For ladies, it would be best in a sari, and for gents in a suit, or if you'd like to dress the Indian way, maybe in a close neck coat or ban gala coat as they call it. Thirdly, when you're seated there awaiting your call for the interview, you will find a number of people similarly placed close to you, talking about various matters of current affairs and about what questions are likely to be asked of you when you enter the hall. where you would be interviewed. It's very important to be at peace with yourself during this critical time. And that is something which you have to judge for yourself. There are people who feel extremely happy about indulging in conversation with others. There are people who prefer a sense of solitude before they go before the board. There are people who like to interact in a limited way before they go to the interview hall. So it is for you to decide how you would like to be, but please understand that you must not give up your peace of mind before you enter the interview hall. Some of us derived inspiration and confidence from the sayings of great thinkers and philosophers who have advised on how you could maintain your equanimity and your sense of self-confidence when you face a problem. So it is up to the individual to decide what he or she would like to do when he or she is awaiting that call for the interview at the UPSC headquarters. Then we come to the interview itself. As you enter the interview hall, you would find a set of distinguished people seated around the table. There would be a vacant chair which is meant for you. As you walk up to the chair, firstly, please wait for a minute so that you are asked to sit down. And in case you are not asked to sit down, in any case, it's important for you to greet the chairman and all the members of the board before you take your seat. And it's important to remember that in case the chairman is a lady, then you don't address her as Chairman Sir. It's important to distinguish the fact that she is a lady and you express your understanding of the distinction by saying Chairperson Madam. In any case, I'm sure there would be ladies in the interviewing set of people, and it's important for you to address the ladies in that group specifically and not just say good morning or good afternoon, sir. So I would therefore advise that you say good morning, sir, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen experts, in case you're talking about the group as a whole, and in case the chairman is a gentleman. After you take your seat, the questions would start from the chairperson. The chairperson would probably ask you about your personality or about yourself. This is a very important point for which you will have to prepare yourself before the interview. So it's not as if you're going to be speaking extempore when somebody asks you about yourself. It's also important to remember that you don't bore that person with a lot of personal details. You could start with a small beginning about your background, maybe in 2 sentences, to say that I hail from this part of India, and to also add that this is your educational qualification, and a sentence about where you are probably working, and thereafter talk about your interest about the civil services or about the national interest or the public interest in about 2 or 3 sentences, so as to say that I have always had a strong urge to work for people who are underprivileged or people who need to be brought out of their current level of existence, maybe poverty levels or social standards, etc. So it's important to express something about about 2 or 3 sentences about when you talk about yourself as to what brings you to that hall, what brings you to the civil services. So that would give you a beginning as to how the interview would progress thereafter. Having said this, you could then wait for the next question rather than go on and on about yourself. Please understand that you should not speak for more than 6-7 sentences when you give this introduction about yourself. As I said, the first 2 or 3 sentences could be about your personal background. The remaining sentences could be about your interest for the civil services or about the national interest or about public interest, etc. Now we have come to the end of this episode where I have talked about certain tips for the interview before the UPSC board for the civil services. I will be following up with more episodes, giving you more and more valuable tips about how you can face the questions, the type of questions that will be asked of you, the kind of answers that will have to be given, and most importantly, as to how you leave the interview room when you finish the interview. Okay, till then, bye. All the best.